All right, everyone. This is a video that I guess I do every once in a while. I think the last time I did it was in 2019, which concerns alt tech sites and I guess you could say my reviews of them. Now, the fact is that my preferences in terms of what I want out of a web outlet, out of what you would call a platform, these are things that are, again, my preferences, and they might not be the same ones as you. But the fact is, I think that people need to get serious about fighting tech censorship, and therefore, I would say that if you think that you are, um, shielded from tech censorship because you are playing it safe and because you have a bit more of a low key, uh, you know, footprint on the web, remember that there have been a number of people who have lost their jobs merely for following the wrong person on Twitter. Twitter, especially, is the worst platform in my opinion, and I was banned from Twitter last fall, and I can tell you that I think that they did a favor for me because it was honestly a horrible platform. Still is. I would never go back if I mean, given that some people have asked to be able to get their Twitter platform back, I would say that I'm sort of happy that I'm off of it because it was literally just a huge waste of time, and you can get banned for the smallest problem, the smallest expression of something that is against the rules. So my advice to anyone who is out there who is still thinking about where to put their efforts in, I can tell you that the last place I would invest a lot of time is Twitter. Instagram I'm not so familiar with, so if you still have an Instagram account, obviously you might be getting good results if what you're trying to do is get an audience. But I personally, I don't have I think I have an Instagram account just to follow other people, just to look at and do research. I don't like or comment on anything over there, and I think I've only used it 2 times, so in terms of just browsing. So no to Instagram. Facebook I'm still on because I know a lot of people on it. I think that Facebook will be a very, very long process of death because I would say that Mark Zuckerberg is a little bit more adaptive, and he seems to zigzag a lot between both censorship and opposition to censorship. And then, of course, you have YouTube, which is strangling itself to death through support of censorship. So I put it on the screen right now. You can see all of the different platforms that I am on. So, of course, YouTube, BitChute, and Library are all different video hosting sites. I will comment on that in a couple minutes. Minds.com and Gab, as well as Parler, they're, I guess, the answer to Twitter and Facebook. Of those three, I'll put on the screen, so I'll go through each one, and you can basically make up your own mind who you think is the site that is worthy of your effort if you want to invest in both. Literally investing, I think you can invest in Gab and Minds. I'm not quite sure. But Minds.com, I would say, is the best, in my opinion, because they have a blogging feature. They have a lot of groups. They're not amazing. I wouldn't say it's easy to get new content or sorry, new following on Minds. It's not as easy as I think that they would have you believe. That is my lone criticism. But other than that, I've never had any post of mine taken down. I've seen a lot of really edgy stuff on there. Not that I mean, that depends on whether you want edgy stuff or not. If you're one of these people who is naturally sensitive and you think that very racist stuff is the problem, then yeah, you're not going to enjoy Minds.com or Gab or most of these other things, because the fact is that there are many, many people with very I would say, um, controversial opinions on there, very and inflammatory opinions. So I like using it. I think it's a great site, and um, I think that you can enjoy it. You can actually see this is an anti-Semitic post right here. It says, they're complaining about the fact that um, in the Bible you're allowed to eat locusts, right? But you're not allowed to eat pigs. That's insinuation, and then they have a burning Israeli flag here. So that's the type of content you might see on Minds. But here's the thing: if you have an objection to objectionable content on a platform, there's two ways to go about it. One way to do it is to ask to censor other people, in which case you're basically trying to say, oh, because something that someone else said offends me, I don't want other people to have access to it and make up their minds. Or you can put out your own content and be a resource for people that agree with you. And that's the attitude that I try to take in almost every case. I don't think I have a fairly strong track record of not reporting offensive content. I usually just move away or unfollow or something. Gab is the other very edgy site, and I will tell you that a lot of the talk in the media about Gab being a haven for extremists is exactly that. It is talk. If you go to the mainstream sites, they have a lot of extremists too. They're just diluted in a much larger pool. But if you go to Gab, I can tell you that I've received much less hate on Gab than I have on YouTube. And when I do get hate on Gab, it's really, there's no doubt about it. These people despise you. They think that you are subhuman, but it's much rarer than you would think. So you don't necessarily have to worry about it. In fact, the one time that I got somebody one time who really laid into me 5 paragraphs about Jews and all that. I could tell you that after looking at it, I didn't respond, and the guy didn't pursue it anymore. Like I just didn't. So really, all you have to do is or I don't know, I just gave him some joke response because the fact is that if you're on a platform like Gab and people are looking to, I guess, broaden their following, they're not going to get very far by antagonizing other users on a small platform, right? And often this is something that I've seen on BitChute, which we'll get to in a few minutes. On BitChute, I've seen people who spam comments, and all of the people who are in the comments, they usually spam it with like really racist stuff or things like that. People on these alternative tech platforms, they hate spammers more than you see on YouTube. On YouTube, the moderators, the site moderators tend to basically take a lot of the decisions out of your hands. So you might not even see spam comments, right? Or comments that aren't necessarily spam, such as ones that include links. They get filtered automatically. So you have too strong of an anti-spam enforcement mechanism on YouTube. And therefore, if you're on BitChute, you actually get to see people responding to spam in real time. They'll actually downvote spam. They'll actually report it as spam. So I'm very satisfied with the way BitChute users respond to spam. So I would say Gab is good. It is not as successful as Parler, and you can see that the resentment is boiling up. I will say that as much as people are hyping up Parler and there's more and more support for it, I've never been very satisfied with it. It's difficult to grow. There was a time when I was on Parler and I was getting a lot of followers, and they all seemed to be from Saudi Arabia, so it didn't make any sense. And then now that Parler is becoming this massive success relative to a lot of these other platforms, for whatever reason, I'm getting no followers. So to me, Parler is obviously a good place to go if you see a lot of people who are moving on to it that I would say yes, you should follow them, ask them to follow you back, create a new community there. That's the way things grow. It is a better way to grow organically. So Parler is good. I would say that Gab is better, and I would say that one of the reasons it's better is because you for sure know that someone else that you know, if you tag them, will see it. I'm not so sure about Parler. I happen to think Parler is kind of a site where people go to advertise themselves because they can't advertise themselves elsewhere. So you're basically seeing a lot of people who are looking for a one-way relationship with their followers, which is that their followers give them attention, but they don't give it back. A lot of very high-profile people. So I'm not as hot about Parler as a lot of other people, but if you're enjoying it, as I'm sure that some people are, yeah, join it. And by the way, all of the sites that I'm mentioning today, whether it's the mainstream big tech sites like Twitter and YouTube and Facebook and Instagram, or all of the other ones, the alt tech ones, which are Parler, Gab, Minds.com, Library, BitChute, and Brighteon, you don't have to dedicate yourself exclusively to one or the other. But I would say if you want to grow as a smaller creator, or if you want to have freer expression and not have to worry about repercussions from people that are looking to get back at you, I would focus a lot more on the alt tech sites and getting people to join them. And by the way, the more you siphon off attention from the big tech sites, the more strained they are to survive because they're getting less revenue. The less site traffic, the less ad revenue they get, the less people who are using the site, and the less relevant it is in the public sphere, the more they can't control you. That's really the problem. They have power because people continue to use them. That's the real issue. So while I do know that there are people like me who continue to keep a lot of their interactions on Facebook, it simply is, at a certain point, people have to stop complaining and really look for an alternative. And I think Parler is the beginning of that change, but it's not happening fast enough. People have to really start investing time. And that's why when I'm getting to right now is the video issue. So my personal preference in terms of videos, you can see I have an account on YouTube. I have about 500 subscribers. It is not a big channel by any means. It's not a popular channel. It's been very difficult to get attention. I've been putting a lot less effort into videos and no more editing, nothing, because it's a waste of time to work on editing a video and putting in all sorts of memes and features, even if it's a crude video. I know that if you remember some of my edited videos, they're not exactly George Lucas quality, but whatever the quality of the video, it's very, very discouraging when you put in maybe an hour and a half of editing and you don't get that many views because of A, the algorithm, and B, because sometimes they'll hit you with a copyright strike for some bullshit like they did with my review of Chappaquiddick. So you can see this was a video I did last night. It got 14 views on YouTube. On BitChute, it got 26. And yet, the overall user base on YouTube is several orders of magnitude higher than on BitChute. My personal subscriber count on BitChute is 81, whereas on YouTube it's 500. So where is this notion on YouTube that they are supportive of independent creators? It's a transparent lie. There's no way you could possibly maintain that when you have a much smaller pool of people who are to begin with subscribe to me. Never mind talking about whether it pops up on people's feed. It is ridiculous, and YouTube knows this, and they don't care, and they are nowadays they're just blatantly spitting in our faces. Susan Wojcicki and the rest of the Team YouTube group, they don't really care about the people who built the platform. Not talking about myself specifically, but I'm talking about people who did build the platform. They are blatantly stepping on them like they are garbage, like they're a discarded can of soda that was thrown off the highway. And that's the way that they relate to people. So I would say definitely, if you are a video watcher, there are two alternatives that I'll go through. Brighteon is another one that Styx talks about. I don't have much familiarity with it, and I think that unfortunately he is sort of he's has this commitment to supporting every single alt tech platform that comes up, and I commend him for that. But at a certain point, you have to wonder how much growth each one of these is able to do, because some people, they simply they need to focus on one thing, right? So there are, I think, four different video platforms that he focuses on besides YouTube. Okay, YouTube, let's put it to the side. He has Brighteon, BitChute, Library, and Dailymotion. And I would say that Dailymotion obviously has been, in the past, it's been a great site. I don't necessarily use it that much. Brighteon I haven't used at all, and I've mainly focused lately on using Library and BitChute. The reason I use BitChute for some things is because there are a lot of creators that have gone to BitChute, and you can actually see them on the screens. There's, for example, this is obviously one that they have a racial connotation here. So if you're on BitChute, you do have a lot of users and creators that are what you would call, racialists. But you also have a lot of good new creators. One's, comedians, things like that. Um, Let me see here. So you have Next News Network. They used to be on YouTube. I think he got banned. I think on Gab you have a lot of Brazilian content. Media Giant, I think that I remember them. So there's plenty of very important ex-YouTube sites or channels that you can find um, on BitChute. Here you have one that I guess is Muslim. So it's in Arabic. I don't know if I want to play that, but in any case, yeah, you can find all sorts of stuff on here. And look, I think that you're not going to like a lot of it. Here's one called Zionist Report. Um, they're clearly not sympathetic. So I will say that if you want this site to be more successful, but you don't agree with these groups like the far right groups and some of the more crazy groups, I would say that the solution is to come on the site, support the creators that you do like. If you are a creator already, open a channel on it, make your stand on these sites, because you're going to have an easier job doing that on BitChute than you will on YouTube. And in fact, some of the people there's a guy, Zarathustra's Serpent, and I was on his. I think I had him on my channel. It might have been the other way around. He was complaining a lot about how YouTube censors his stuff, which tries to counteract anti-Semitism. I said to him, the fact is, YouTube is a horrible platform. They censor everyone. Why don't you do more on these alternative tech platforms and get your subscribers to move over to there instead of banging your head against the wall on YouTube? So that is something that I think people need to definitely talk about more. But the fact is, so I talked about BitChute, I talked about Minds.com, I talked about Gab, I talked about Parler, and Subscribestar, of course, if you want to donate to me. The one site that I like more in terms of the video hosting is Library, and I'll tell you why. These are entirely user and creator reasons. I have no problem with BitChute in terms of their censorship or anything, but the thing that I never liked about BitChute was that uploads could take days or even weeks to actually become public, because it's a very spotty website. The I guess the actual what do you call it? It doesn't work in the same way. It's not the same type of video hosting website as YouTube. It's not exactly a video streaming website. It's a peer-to-peer hosting website. So you are basically logging into it, and I guess I don't even know how it works. I'm not exactly a computer engineer, So you'll have to forgive me. But peer-to-peer, I remember back in the day, if you had something like Kazaa or one of these other, or especially, I forgot what was the one for movies, but you could, it was called MuTorrent. Yeah, so you could basically seed a video and then download it, right? So that's the way that BitChute works, and it's a little bit more of a user-friendly type thing in terms of you could basically have it on your desktop. It'll work very very well. But if it's on your phone, you can't play it in the background. You can't play peer-to-peer stuff in the background because it doesn't really, it's not streaming. Okay, so you have to keep your phone open with the screen on. And therefore, if you're going to do anything outside, or you're going to the gym, or you're going to, take a ride on your bike or something like that, and you want to listen to a video as opposed to watching it. I know that one of my favorite creators in terms of everyday listening is Tim Pool. I don't need to watch Tim Pool talk. He's just talking while it's just the same way that you see my video. You see a little inset of me on the screen, and then you see a display of my screen, right? So that you don't really need to watch what I'm doing, right? I'm sure some of you that might be watching this don't even look at the video at all. You maybe press play and then you close your screen, or you have this window on in the background on your desktop and you're flipping through other stuff on your other screens. So in terms of BitChute, that works fine on the desktop. It doesn't work so easily on the phone. On Library, it works perfectly. It works almost as good as YouTube. On YouTube, you don't even, like, all you have to do is turn your screen off and it works fine. On Library, what I'll usually have is my Bluetooth device, whether it's my speaker or headphones, and then I'll just you turn the screen off, it pauses automatically, and then you can press play on whatever device you have, and it plays absolutely fine. So that's one issue. That's user friendliness. I think Library is much more user friendly than BitChute is. So I'm going to put a link in the description so you can join my Library channel. Hopefully join the site, and please support it. The other reason that I like it is a creator issue, which is that you would upload. So I think I already hinted at this. You would upload, and it would take weeks sometimes for your video to be visible to the public. So you just finished the stream on YouTube. First of all, you can't simultaneously stream on either of these platforms, Library or BitChute. So what you have to do is you later have to download your YouTube stream, then upload it to this website. Now on Library, it's fine. It usually takes a few minutes for your video to become public. However, on BitChute, it typically will take several hours to a day. It's better than it used to be. I remember 2 years ago when I started on BitChute, it could literally take a week or two, and it was insane because the topic that you were talking about a week ago is no longer relevant because the news works that fast. So I think that'll be it. Obviously, you should try to follow your creators, the ones that you really like, on any of the platforms that they're on. I would say if they're not on BitChute or Library, if you're talking about just video hosting, you should tell them to get on those as soon as possible. That's about it. Please like, share, and subscribe, and have a great day, and happy 4th of July. If I didn't wish it to you yesterday, sorry. And we'll be talking later.